I don't know if you've ever driven through the desert at night, but if you have, you'll understand what I mean when I say it's like driving across the surface of the moon. Endless stretches of nothing, black sky overhead with stars too sharp and too many, and the kind of silence that presses in on you until you feel your heartbeat louder than the road beneath your tires. That was me and my buddy Dylan a few summers back. We were on a road trip, heading from Nevada down through Arizona. College kids, nothing but a beaten-up Honda Civic, a couple backpacks, and way too much Red Bull to keep us alive through those long desert highways. We had left late, stupidly late. It was almost 2 a.m. when we realized we were running low on gas. That's when things started to go wrong. I remember staring at the glowing orange gas light like it was a countdown clock. Dylan was half asleep in the passenger seat, head tilted back, earbuds in, but I kept nudging him awake because I didn't want to be the only one panicking. "Dude," I whispered, "we're running out." He rubbed his face, groggy. "How far to the next town?" "GPS says 35 miles. We both looked at the dashboard. The range meter blinked 28 miles left. "Shit," Dylan muttered. "We're screwed." We slowed down, coasted whenever we could, headlights cutting a thin slice into the desert night. But the highway felt endless. Just sand, low shrubs, and the occasional reflective sign that whipped past in the dark. And then, like a miracle, we saw it, a glowing neon sign flickering in the distance. "Gas, food, open 24 hours. It shouldn't have been there. I had checked the map. There was nothing marked between our location and the next town, but the sign pulsed red and green through the blackness, and we both sat up straighter. "Hell yes," Dylan said, suddenly awake. I pulled off the highway onto a cracked side road that led to the station. The place looked old. Not abandoned exactly, but like it hadn't been updated since the 1970s. 2 ancient pumps stood under a rusted awning, their paint peeling. The convenience store was a squat little building with faded posters plastered on the glass. A buzzing fluorescent bulb flickered above the entrance. But the strangest part? The lot was completely empty. No cars, no trucks, no staff visible through the window. Still, I didn't care. Gas was gas. We pulled up to the pump. I stepped out, the desert air colder than I expected. The pump's digital screen was smeared and half broken, but when I lifted the nozzle, it clicked on with a beep. "See?" Dylan grinned. "We're fine. Chill." That's when I noticed the smell. Not gasoline, at least not just gasoline. It was sharper, sour almost, like something rotten mixed with chemicals. I tried to shake it off. I filled the tank while Dylan wandered toward the store. The bell above the door jingled when he pushed inside. I followed after, just to grab some snacks and stretch my legs. The inside was wrong. At first glance, it was like any other convenience store. Shelves of chips, fridges of soda, a counter at the far end, but everything looked too still. The air smelled stale, like dust that had been sitting for years. The fridges hummed, but when I opened one, every soda can was warm. Not just room temperature. Warm, like they'd been sitting under the sun. On the shelves, I noticed bags of chips with expiration dates from 2007. Candy bars that had melted and re-solidified, warped inside their wrappers. "Yo," Dylan whispered, holding up a candy bar. "Look at this. It's older than my little sister." We laughed nervously, but it didn't feel funny. "Hello?" Dylan called out toward the counter. "Anyone working tonight?" Silence. Then footsteps, slow, heavy, from the back room. We froze. A moment later, the beaded curtain behind the counter shifted and someone stepped through. He was tall. Too tall. His shoulders hunched as if the ceiling was too low for him. His skin looked pale, almost gray under the flickering light, and his eyes, they didn't blink. Not once. He wore a name tag, but the writing was faded, unreadable. "Pump 4, he said in a low, flat voice, though I hadn't told him which pump we were at. Cash or card? Card, I managed. He nodded once. Didn't smile, didn't move, just stared. I pulled out my card, but when I handed it to him, I swear his fingers brushed mine longer than they should have, cold and clammy, like dead fish. The transaction beeped through an ancient register. The screen flashed nonsense characters, symbols that didn't make sense. Dylan leaned close to me and whispered, "Let's just go, man. This place is creepy as hell." I nodded. We grabbed nothing else, just left, the bell jangling again as the door shut behind us. The tank was full. That should have been the end of it. We should have just driven off and laughed about the weird station, but when I pulled back onto the road, something was wrong. The highway didn't look the same. The strip of asphalt stretched into the desert, but the road signs were different. Older, faded, bent, and my GPS, dead, no signal. We drove for 20 minutes, no towns, no headlights behind us, no exits, just endless twisting road through the dark desert. Finally, Dylan shouted, "Dude, stop!" Ahead I saw it, the same gas station, same flickering sign, same pumps, same cracked lot. We had looped back. My stomach dropped. "That's impossible," I whispered. Against every ounce of common sense, we pulled in again. The pumps looked the same, but the tank was still full. Dylan got out, walked up to the glass door, and froze. "What?" I asked, climbing out after him. "The shelves," he whispered. "They're different." I pressed my face to the glass. He was right. The chips were gone, the fridges were empty, the candy shelves bare. The place looked ransacked. But the worst part, the man behind the counter was still there, standing in the same spot, unblinking, staring at us. Only this time, he was smiling. We didn't go inside. We didn't say a word. I yanked Dylan back to the car, floored the gas, and tore off the lot. The road twisted again. I don't remember how long we drove, maybe minutes, maybe hours, but finally we saw headlights ahead. A semi-truck roared past, and the GPS blinked back to life. We were back on the real highway. The gas station? Gone. Not a trace. When we finally made it to the next town, I pulled into a real, modern gas station just to breathe. Dylan went inside to grab snacks. When he came back, his face was pale. He handed me the receipt. The timestamp read June 12th, 1997. To this day, I don't know what happened that night. We never talk about it. Dylan swears we hallucinated, that maybe the desert heat got to us, even though it was the middle of the night. But I still have the receipt. It sits in a drawer in my room, the paper yellowed, the ink faded. Sometimes, late at night, I take it out and look at it. And every time, I swear the date changes. It was supposed to be the perfect escape, a cross-country road trip from New York to California, just me, my best friend Alex, and the open road. We'd planned it for months, packing snacks, curating playlists, and mapping out quirky roadside attractions to break up the monotony of interstate driving. Alex was the adventurous one, always pushing for off-the-beaten-path routes, while I preferred the safety of well-lit highways. But on that fateful third day, as we cruised through rural Pennsylvania, Alex spotted a faded sign for Whispering Pines Scenic Route and insisted we take it. "Come on, Mia," he said with that infectious grin. "Where's your sense of adventure? This could be the highlight of the trip." I rolled my eyes but couldn't resist his enthusiasm. Alex had always been the one to drag me out of my comfort zone. Back in college, he'd convinced me to go skydiving. And though I'd scream the whole way down, it became one of my favorite memories. So, I agreed. And we veered off the main highway onto the narrow, winding path. The road was flanked by towering pines that seemed to lean in, their needles brushing against the sky like green feathers. The air grew cooler, carrying the sharp scent of resin and damp earth. Our SUV bumped along the uneven asphalt, and for a while, It felt exhilarating. We cranked up the music, singing along to old rock anthems, the wind whipping through the open windows. As the miles ticked by, though, the scenery shifted subtly. The trees thickened, blocking out more of the sunlight, and the road narrowed to a single lane in places. Our GPS started glitching, first losing signal intermittently, then dropping altogether. "No worries," Alex said, pulling out an old paper map from the glove compartment. "We've got this relic." But when I unfolded it, the ink was faded, and the scenic route was marked with a dotted line that trailed off into unmarked territory after just a few miles. "This map is ancient," I muttered. "Maybe we should turn back." Alex laughed. "Turn back? We're explorers, Mia. Lewis and Clark didn't have GPS and they did just fine." I forced a smile, but a knot of unease twisted in my stomach. The forest felt too quiet. No birdsong, no rustle of animals, just the hum of our tires and the occasional creak of branches in the breeze. We drove on, the sun dipping lower, casting long shadows that danced across the dashboard. That's when I first noticed the whispers. At first, I thought it was the wind whistling through the trees, or maybe static from the radio we'd turned down. But as I strained to listen, it sounded like voices, faint, murmuring, indistinguishable words blending into the background noise. "Did you hear that?" I asked Alex, turning down the volume completely. "Hear what?" He glanced at me, eyebrows raised. "Like whispering out there in the woods." He chuckled. "You're imagining things. Probably just the leaves or something. Relax, Mia, enjoy the view." I tried to shake it off, focusing on the road ahead, but the whispers persisted, growing slightly louder as the light faded. We passed a rusted old sign half buried in vines. "Whispering Pines. Enter at your own risk." It looked like a joke, something from a bygone era of roadside gimmicks, but it sent a chill down my spine. Alex snapped a photo with his phone. "Perfect for Instagram," he said. Hashtag haunted highway. Dusk settled in, and the road grew even more treacherous. Potholes like craters, roots bulging under the pavement as if the forest was trying to reclaim it. Our headlights pierced the gloom, illuminating twisted trunks that looked like frozen screams. Then up ahead, a clearing emerged, and in it sat an abandoned gas station. The pumps were ancient, their hoses dangling like limp snakes, and the building's windows were shattered, shards glinting in our beams. Graffiti covered the walls, strange symbols and words like "they listen" scrawled in what appeared to be faded red paint. Or was it paint? My mind raced to darker possibilities. "Let's stop here," Alex suggested. "Maybe there's a payphone or something, or at least a place to stretch our legs." I hesitated. "It looks creepy. Can't we just keep going?" "Come on, scaredy cat, it'll be quick." He pulled into the cracked lot, the gravel crunching under our tires. The whispers seemed louder here, echoing off the derelict structure. Alex hopped out, flashlight in hand, and approached the building. I stayed in the car, locking the doors, my phone clutched tightly. No signal, of course. Minutes dragged on like hours. I watched him peer through the broken windows, his beam sweeping inside. When he finally returned, his face was ashen, drained of its usual color. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "There's stuff in there. Old newspapers from the 1800s, talking about a logging accident. And photos, family portraits on the walls, but all the faces are scratched out, like someone clawed them away." He swallowed hard. "And Mia." I heard the whispers too. Inside. They said my name. My blood ran cold. "We need to leave now." He nodded, starting the engine with trembling hands. As we pulled away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. For a split second, I swore I saw a figure in the doorway, a shadowy silhouette motionless watching us go. The road ahead twisted deeper into the forest, the trees closing in like walls of a maze. The whispers returned, clearer now. Stay. Join us. Forever. They weren't in the wind. They were in the car, surrounding us, as if the voices were seeping through the vents. Alex gripped the wheel, knuckles white. This isn't funny anymore. The road should have ended by now. We checked the odometer. We'd driven 20 miles since the gas station, but the landscape repeated. The same gnarled oak with a lightning scar. The same fallen log half-rotted by the roadside. We're going in circles, I realized, panic rising. How is that possible? I don't know, Alex admitted, his voice cracking. Maybe we missed a turn. We stopped to consult the map again, but under the dome light, it looked different. The dotted line now looped in on itself, forming an infinity symbol. This can't be, I whispered. Outside, the whispers swelled into a chorus, words overlapping. Lost. Ours. Whisper with us. That's when the first apparition appeared. It materialized on the roadside, caught in our headlights. A woman in a faded Victorian dress, her skin pale as moonlight, mouth agape in a silent wail. Her eyes were hollow sockets staring right at us. Alex slammed on the brakes, the car fishtailing. What the fuck was that? A ghost? A hallucination? I gasped, heart hammering. But as we inched forward, she vanished, leaving only swirling mist. We drove on, faster now, but more figures emerged from the trees. Men in tattered work clothes, axes slung over shoulders, their forms translucent and flickering. They reached out with spectral hands, fingers brushing the windows, leaving frost on the glass. They're loggers, Alex muttered, piecing it together from the gas station newspapers. There was an accident here in the 19th century. A landslide buried a whole camp alive. They say the survivors heard whispers before it happened, like the mountain warning them. But no one listened. The car jolted as something unseen thumped the undercarriage. The engine stuttered, dashboard lights flickering. No, 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 Alex pleaded, pumping the gas. It roared back to life, but the whispers turned to pleas. Help us. Free us. Stay. I grabbed my phone again, desperate for a signal. One bar flickered, enough to search Whispering Pines legend. The results loaded slowly. Forums filled with stories of drivers vanishing on the route, locals warning it's cursed, a limbo for the unrested dead seeking companions. One post chilled me. If you hear your name, it's too late. They've chosen you. Mia. The whispers cooed, my name woven into the cacophony. We swerved around another apparition, a child this time, playing with a wooden toy, oblivious to the horror. The road bucked like a living thing, roots erupting from the ground to snag our tires. Alex fought the wheel, but we spun out, slamming into a ditch. The impact jarred us, airbags deploying in a cloud of powder. Dazed, I wiped blood from a cut on my forehead. Alex? You okay? He groaned, unbuckling. Yeah, but we're stuck. Outside, the figures closed in, their whispers a deafening roar. We locked eyes, terror mirroring. We have to run! We bolted from the car, plunging into the woods. Branches clawed at our skin, roots tripped us, but we pushed on, hand in hand. The whispers followed, guiding or hurting us. We couldn't tell. Deeper in, we stumbled upon a clearing. Remnants of the old logging camp, rotted cabins, rusted tools scattered like bones. In the center, a massive sinkhole yawned, the landslide's scar. The ghosts materialized en masse, surrounding us, dozens, their eyes glowing with unearthly light. Join us, they intoned, voices unified. One stepped forward, the woman from the road. We were buried alive, now we whisper warnings. But you didn't listen. Alex squeezed my hand. We have to jump the sinkhole. It's the only way out. It was insane, but what choice did we have? We backed up, ran, and leaped, the void swallowing the air beneath us. Mid-air, spectral hands grasped at our ankles, pulling. I screamed, kicking free, landing hard on the other side. Alex. He wasn't so lucky. A hand latched on, dragging him down. Mia, help! I reached for him, our fingers brushing, but he slipped away, tumbling into the darkness with a final, echoing cry. The whispers surged triumphantly. One of us. Forever. I ran blindly, tears streaming, until the trees thinned and I burst onto a main highway. Cars honked as I flagged one down. The driver, an elderly local, listened to my babbling story. Whispering Pines, he sighed. Folks disappear there every year. They say the dead lure the living to join their eternal vigil. Weeks later, back in New York, the nightmares began. Whispers in the shower, in the subway rumble, calling me back. Alex's body was never found. Search parties reported hearing voices, but seeing nothing. I know he's down there, whispering with them. And lately, when I'm alone at night, I hear him clearest. Mia, come join us. It's peaceful here. I fight it, but the pull grows stronger. Maybe one day I'll drive back. After all, what's a road trip without your best friend? The days blurred after that night. I threw myself into work, therapy sessions, where I recounted the horror, only to be met with skeptical nods and prescriptions for anxiety meds. Hallucinations from stress, the doctor said. Trauma can play tricks. But the pills didn't silence the whispers. They crept in during quiet moments, at the grocery store, in the hum of the fridge, murmuring fragments of conversations I'd had with Alex. His laugh echoed in my dreams, distorted, pleading. I researched obsessively. Old archives revealed the logging disaster of 1872, a crew of 50 men, women, and children buried under tons of earth when a rain-soaked hillside gave way. Survivors spoke of premonitions, whispers in the wind, warning of doom. The site was abandoned, the road built over it decades later as a scenic detour, but accidents plagued it. Missing persons reports stacked up, hikers, drivers, all vanishing without trace. One article from the 1950s described a motorist found wandering, babbling about the whispering dead who demanded company. I visited Alex's family, his empty apartment a shrine to our friendship, photos of us on past trips, his backpack still packed from that day. His sister hugged me, tears in her eyes. He always talked about you like a sister. What really happened out there? I told her the truth, but she looked at me with pity, like I'd cracked. Maybe I had. The whispers evolved, becoming personal, reminders of inside jokes, secrets only Alex knew. Remember that time in Vegas? They'd hiss in the dead of night. Come back, Mia, we miss you. One evening I couldn't take it. I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and drove. Not west, but aimlessly, highways blurring into one another. The radio crackled with static, voices bleeding through. Closer, almost here. I pulled over at a rest stop, heart racing. In the mirror, my reflection flickered, eyes hollowing like the ghosts. That's when I saw him. Alex, standing in the lot under a sodium lamp, waving. I blinked, he was gone, but the pull was undeniable. I turned the car around, heading east, back to Pennsylvania. The whispers cheered. Yes, home. The scenic route sign loomed, faded but beckoning. I turned onto it, the forest welcoming me like an old friend. The whispers swelled, harmonious now. Figures lined the road, nodding approval. At the gas station, I stopped entering the building. The scratched photos stared back, now including one of Alex, his face intact, smiling. Deeper in, the loop began again, but this time I didn't fight. When the apparitions reached out, I took their hands. The sinkhole yawned and I jumped willingly. Falling, the whispers enveloped me. Welcome. Forever. Down here, it's not so bad. The dead share stories. Their voice is a constant murmur. Alex is here, grinning like always. Took you long enough, he says. And now, we whisper together, waiting for the next detour taker. If you're reading this, listen closely on your next drive. Hear us? We're calling you. Sarah and I had been together for 2 years, but lately the spark had dimmed. Life in Las Vegas had worn us down. Traffic, casino jobs, nights where we sat on our phones instead of talking. That's why I suggested the road trip, a chance to escape. Seattle, the mountains, fresh air. A chance to fall back in love. At first, it worked. We laughed, hiked, camped under a billion stars. Sarah glowed in the golden light, snapping photos of everything. For the first time in months, I thought we'd be okay. But then Nevada swallowed us. Endless plains, abandoned towns, no radio, no gas. The silence was heavy. That night, a storm broke the sky open. Lightning forked across the desert. Thunder made the steering wheel vibrate under my hands. The gas gauge hovered on empty. And that's when we saw him. A figure under a flickering lamp at a desolate rest stop. Thumb out. So still, like he'd been waiting for us. Sarah begged me to stop. Against my gut, I did. He slid into the back seat without a word at first. Water dripped from his hood. When he finally spoke, his voice was like gravel grinding. Name's Elias. His eyes never quite caught the light. At first, he seemed normal enough. A drifter. Odd jobs. The road calls, he said. But then the stories came about cursed mines, spirits in the desert, shadows that had minds of their own. Sarah hung on his every word, but when I looked in the mirror, his shadow didn't match him. It stretched too long, bending forward like it was reaching for us. We dropped him at a motel, thought it was over, but the next morning, 30 miles out, there he was. Same hood, same stance, thumb out. We hadn't passed him. There was no way. But Sarah insisted we stop. The second ride was worse. His stories got darker. Hitchhikers who picked up the wrong passenger. Shadows that learn you would, then take over. And things started happening. My phone went dead in minutes. The map shifted on the dash though the windows were closed. Sarah's necklace unclasped itself, dropping onto the seat beside Elias. That night, at camp, I woke to Sarah whispering in her sleep, but it wasn't her voice. Shadows, hungry, join. I shook her awake. She didn't remember, but outside our fire cast shadows that twisted without us, long, grasping fingers against the canvas of the tent. By the third time, we saw Elias, waiting ahead of us. Impossibly, I was done. How are you doing this? I demanded at a diner stop. He just smiled. The road has shortcuts for some. Shadows travel faster. When he said it, his form shimmered in daylight, like heat waves on asphalt. That night, the storm returned. Dry lightning ripped across the sky. And then it happened. Our shadows turned on us. Mine slithered up the steering wheel, cold and real. Sarah's climbed up her neck, whispering in her ear. We skidded to the shoulder, dirt spraying. Elias sat calmly in the back. His smile widened. You felt it. The pull. Shadows aren't just absence of light. They're alive. I was like you once, picked up the wrong hitchhiker. Now I carry them. His body dissolved into black smoke. Tendrils lashed out, coiling around us. Pain like ice ripping through my veins. Sarah's scream cut off as her shadow melted into his. In panic, I grabbed the flashlight, blasted him with the beam. He shrieked, recoiling. The light burned him. I drove blind into the night, headlights high, chasing dawn. Behind us, his form chased like a living storm cloud. But when the sun finally broke over the horizon, he faded, howling. "We'll find you again." We staggered into a town, alive but not whole. Sarah wasn't the same. Pale, distant, her shadow clung too long. That night she whispered goodbye. Left me a note. "The pull is too strong, don't follow." I never saw her again. Now, months later, I live in Seattle. But I hear them still. Shadows move when they shouldn't. In mirrors, I see Elias's eyes in my reflection. Sometimes, I hear Sarah's voice calling me back. And last week, I swear I saw him. On a rainy street corner. Thumb out, I didn't stop. But my shadow, it grinned. If you ever see a hitchhiker in the desert, don't pick him up. Because once he's in your car, he's never really gone.